Across Devano. Get out the brooms. It's a 4-game sweep. The Reds sweep the Marlins. 12 games over the 500 mark, a new season high. And for now, barring the outcome in San Diego, Reds holding on to that second wild card spot.
Hey, this is John Sadak, TV voice of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
What is going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It's another fun installment of Late Night Reds Talk Live, and the only guest we've ever had on here that knows where I stole that from. I am Tim Daniel, very excited for this week's show. Although a tough night for the Redlegs, still excited to have our great guest tonight, but we'll start with our excellent panel as always. My guy, Mr. Nicholas Kirby. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Tough loss tonight, but 2 weeks ago when we met, we're in a lot better spot than we were then. So onward and upward.
That's right. Also returning this week, Mr. Carlos Guevara. How are you, pal?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How about you?
Well, as you see, after that one listener made fun of my backgrounds, I fixed it. I fixed it after Mo said that it looked like I was sitting on the toilet. Yeah. So really excited for our guest this week. This is, if you follow Better Off Red, he is a member of the Reds organization. The guy who gives us each and every month the update of the Reds walk-up music, which make it our excellent Spotify playlists. I've been following this guy for a very long time, so excited to have him here with us. This is Mr. Jamie Ramsey. Welcome to Reds Talk, Late Night Reds Talk Live.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
So I made reference that you're the only person who's been on the show that knows where I got my opening line from. And I'll go ahead and get this out of the way because I know like you and I have very similar interests here. So Friday night, AEW, Rampage, CM Punk. What was that moment like for you? Because I'm sure it was just as exciting as it was for me.
So I actually watched I watched Rampage in my office because if you guys remember, the Reds were playing and like the game went really fast. So it kind of ended right when Rampage was coming on. So it was a perfect opportunity. Like my wife was like, I thought the game got over early. And I said, well, it did, but like I kind of had to stick around in my office for a little extra work. So little did she know that my TV was on TNT that day.
Yeah, it was awesome. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, which by Nick's face is him. So former pro wrestling sensation CM Punk made his triumphant return to professional wrestling and was on AEW's show, which is now the, I guess you can say, a rival brand to WWE, but the wrestling geeks like Jamie and I know like what they're doing is pretty phenomenal. How this also ties into the Reds is if you see behind Jamie, he has a Dimitri Young jersey hanging up. Dimitri Young literally hosts a pro wrestling podcast now with Lars Fredrickson from Rancid. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, he'll text me from time to time. He'll text me the link, and I think it's his way of saying, "Hey, listen to this." He'll just text me the link. He won't say, "Hey, listen to this," or "Check out our guest," or whatever. It's just the link to it, and I'll listen. He does a good job.
Yeah, so there's an indie corporate company around here. Like Dimitri, I don't know if people knew this or not. Dimitri literally used to do like run-ins at wrestling shows for like the local brands. Like he would do like run-ins in the rings and like hit people with bats and stuff, like bats. But yeah, man, he was pretty into it.
He's this is like the room I'm in now is like our hub for pay-per-views, and Dimitri's been here for 3 or 4 Royal Rumbles, I think. So we've watched some serious, like, now that we've gotten rid of half of your listeners.
Yeah, I guess we could talk baseball now, but
yeah.
Is there any video of Dimitri fighting out there?
I haven't seen any.
I need to see this.
One year when he came for a Royal Rumble, we watched when he was with the Tigers. He went to a WWE show and he was in the show. Like they built him in, like he had a speaking part and everything. They made like Edge made fun of him from the ring, and it was pretty funny. We watched it, and it was like he told us all about the vaccine stuff, like what it was like interacting with Vince McMahon, and like I said, make sure you speak loudly and slowly so everybody can understand you. So it was a pretty cool behind the scenes thing that Dimitri told us about. It's cool.
It is, man. It's just something I'm always gonna love. So it's just that's like the geek part of me that'll always be there. So I knew you were also one who appreciated the arts, so I had to make sure we touched on it before we got into some baseball talk. Obviously this year has been, a lot of fun. I know tonight was a tough loss, but this is a team that right now stands about 9 games over 500. They're in the wild card race still. Although these games against the Brewers are definitely difficult and frustrating as a fan. For most of your career, obviously you haven't been in this situation a lot when you've been around the Reds. So like for you, with this group of guys, with the success they're having, what has the season been like for you to be a part of the organization?
I think I told my wife the other day that this is probably, aside from 2010 and 99, the most fun I've had working for the Reds during the baseball season. I think a lot of that has to do with the team. I think 90% of that has to do with the team. But the players, the staff, it's just been really fun. And also, especially like this team is so special because, look, I work for the Reds, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They've had bullpen problems, and that's been like that. It happened tonight, but they've been like pushing through that. And I've never seen a team so resilient where they know that they might have to score 5 runs to win, or 6 or 7 runs to win, and then they do it. And that's been fun. And like each one of those guys down there is just a special player, and the season itself has like produced so many I feel like, I don't know how you guys think, but I think this season alone has felt like 5 or 6 different seasons into one.
Yes.
I mean, you had the Tyler Naquin season, you had the Castellanos Winker season, then Joey turned on what he's doing is unbelievable. It became the Joey season, and then in between there, it's like everybody like has contributed. And I know this might not be a popular opinion among some of your listeners, but even like some of the guys that struggled in the bullpen, like Heath Hembry and Brad Brock, have to be given at least a certain amount of credit for they stepped up to a certain degree when the team really needed them, as far as pitching in big spots. It didn't always work out, obviously, but they came through in some big spots that otherwise the team really didn't have anybody to pitch those innings. So I think you can't forget those guys. I mean, from top to bottom, it's just been a fun team to watch. I know that's a long answer, but I've really enjoyed it.
I think we lost Tim, but yeah, no, I completely.
He didn't like your answer.
Question in.
We lost
this is a bullshit answer. I'm out of here.
We lost the host. But no, I totally agree. It's really felt, and I think the 2010 team in the 99, like you said, those really felt like full team efforts. Like, the Reds have had some really good teams, like the 2012 and 2013, but those were very like, Votto carried the team, Votto and Chu
right.
in 2013. Like it has been every single guy, and they've needed. You take away any of those performances, and where would the Reds be? It's just it's a really been, I think, a remarkable season from that perspective.
Yeah, that Heath Hembry, as much crap as I give Nick about Heath Hembry, like, thank God we had the best of him whenever we got the best of him. I mean, they'd have been in a real big pickle without him.
Yeah, that month he had about a month run where
like 12, 13 innings.
He was lights out, and the Reds had no options at that point. And I think they're in a pretty good spot now with the bullpen. It's never going to be where I think everyone wants it to be. But I think you saw last night's game. The Reds scored 4 runs off Burns. I mean, you got to feel really good about that. Lorenz has been great. He had a lot of run in 12. It just, you're going to have that. Good pitchers have bad nights. Every reliever does. Reds, remember, beat Josh Hader back-to-back nights earlier this year. It happens. And so I was really encouraged. I thought with yesterday's game that they were able to score, 4 runs off probably the Cy Young front runner right now. How many Reds teams have we saw in the past that, fair or not, kind of got the label of, well, they can't beat the great pitchers, probably a lot of it's unfair, but the Reds have had, they beat Zach Wheeler, a couple weeks ago. They've really been able to compete well against some of the top end pitchers, which I think bodes well if they are able to make it into the playoffs.
That's why they're top pitchers, right? Because not a lot of people beat them.
Yeah.
So an interesting stat earlier, like I was just going through a few things before today's game. It's tough to beat good teams. I know that sounds obvious, but there are only like a handful of teams that are in contention that have winning records against teams at or above 500. The Reds aren't one of those teams. The Reds have a losing record, but I think the Dodgers do too, believe it or not. The Padres do have a winning record against teams over 500. So it's very strange, but
but they haven't done what the Reds have been able to do against the bad teams. And
exactly.
Hey, they all count the same, however you can get it to add up. And I mean, after tomorrow, the Reds schedule, we've been saying it's really favorable. Now that doesn't mean any guarantee. I think David Bell made a comment about this, or maybe it was Kroll, I think on MLB Network made a comment. I think back to 2019, that Reds team wasn't that great, but in September they were like a different team. And remember, they knocked the Cubs out of the playoffs. So the Reds are going to face probably some of those teams. I kind of see maybe a team like the Pirates that has some, young up and coming talent with like Reynolds and Brian Hayes. You hope that you don't get them when those guys are really clicking. So you can't count any of these games, but look, the Reds have it right in front of them, which it's August 25th. That's where you want to be at this point.
You brought up a good point there, and it's something that, we've talked about in the past in the office. It's like, would you rather face a team that is comfortably in, like the Brewers or the Dodgers, or would you rather face a team that doesn't have a winning record but has a bunch of guys? I wouldn't want to play the Cubs right now. I wouldn't want to play that team, because that's a team that has a bunch of young guys that want to show, hey, look, we can play too. And like you said earlier, how many times have we seen the Reds do that, where they've been out of it in September and teams absolutely do not want to play the Reds because they're scratching and clawing to the end.
Yeah, I think the one real positive I think about some of these weaker teams the Reds are going to play, Cubs kind of still have decent starting pitching, whereas some of these other teams, they've just completely traded away all of their pitching. So even if you are young and scrappy, it's hard to at least win series with we know from 2016 to 18. It's really hard to win series when you don't have any starting pitching. So I would say that probably is I think the sign that bodes best for the Reds. But we'll have to see it play out, but they're in a good spot, and that's my life. That's what I've been hoping for at this time of the year, and just sit back and enjoy it. So I guess I'm doing a little hosting here, so hopefully I don't screw this up too much. Let's
the curse on Tim, didn't I?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's having some struggles with the internet tonight, apparently. Usually that's my gig. But we did get some good questions. Kind of start going through them. A really good question I just came across from our friend Ann. Level of concern. We'll start with Carl's level of concern with Winker out. Let's start with Winker. Let's say he's out, but he's able to get back to the postseason. Let's just say he's out for the next couple of weeks. What would be your level of concern with that?
I mean, sure. Anytime you get, you're missing a starting left fielder from the National League All-Star, it's gonna hurt a little bit. But as good as this offense is, it's really not as big as probably most people think. I mean, against right-handed hitters or left-handed pitching, he's not hitting the ball too well. So, I mean, it kind of forces David Bell's hand there to make the move. And they don't have really problems scoring runs. Tonight they did, but that's not their problem. So that's why they've been able to make it through the whole season, because they've lost Joey for a period of time. They've lost Nick for a period of time. Like, they lost Moose for a long time, and the offense is still is one of the top in the National League. So I really don't think it hurts. It definitely helps when he's back. Hopefully he's back before like the 15th of September, because he's going to need those 2 weeks of spring training before the playoffs get here.
Jamie, what's your kind of thoughts on Winker?
I agree with Carlos. I think, it hurts on the field, but I think in this case with Winker, and I agree with Carlos on everything he said about the hitting, and you're not, in dire straits with him out right now. But I think on the flip side of that too, you want to get him back in the lineup as soon as you can, just to have him around the guys, just to have him back in the clubhouse as part of the team. To do that, I think the team down there in the clubhouse would feel complete again and feel whole again. And I know Jesse's a beloved member of the team, and that goes a long way too. Not just for the accolades he collects on the field, but inside that clubhouse, he's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a sense of, all right, our boys are here. We're ready to go. What you got for us today? Like, there's a different sense whenever you suit up for the game that day, and you're healthy and you got your best and you're able to line up against the Brewers. All right, let's go. It definitely plays into it a bit. It's a good point.
Yeah, I think like tonight when you're facing a guy like Brandon Woodruff, that's when you really, really feel, missing Winker. But next couple series, Marlins, Cardinals, Tigers, Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates. Remember, the Cardinals are without Flaherty right now. That if there's a time to miss Winker, that would be the time that you can survive it a little bit more. But yeah, I think Carlos is spot on. You definitely want him back by mid-September, so he can get into, if the Reds are fortunate enough to get into the postseason, he can at least be in some sort of a groove. A lot of questions we're getting about the Reds shortstop situation. I think the three of us are probably like in big minority with the rest of Reds land. I know, Carlos, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. What's your thoughts on the Reds' current shortstop situation?
I've got lots of thoughts. I think they're handling it perfectly well, the way I would if I was manager, the way that I would want my manager to handle it. I mean, we're talking about, you got to take it down. We're talking about human beings here. So everybody in this clubhouse, like we've talked about earlier, there's been plenty of injuries. There's been plenty of bullpen battles, ups and downs. So you build as a team. You come together. You pick each other up. And Kyle Farmer's been there since day one, and he's still there. And he did really, really well around the All-Star break, a little after. Like, he hasn't played as great, but he's still not hurting the team. He's doing really well. You can't just bring a prospect who was up last year, who showed nothing but struggling, just because he had, a good couple of months in AAA. Like, I hope he's the next Barry Larkin. I really do. But right now is not the time to say, all right, Kyle, thanks for your efforts this year. We'll give you a couple pinch hits here and there. It doesn't work that way. Not in any job. Just because this is the team that you choose to root for, and you think they don't have feelings or clubhouse, like that stuff matters. It does. Like, it has a big part in it, because you take him out like that. So, what are you telling people who want to sign next year? Yeah, we want you to come over here, but guess what? If we have a prospect who's doing well, you're probably going to get replaced just because, he did well in AAA. Like, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't.
Jamie, any thoughts on?
Yeah, again, Carlos is right on the money. And, I was, from a distance and from a lurking standpoint, I was keeping tabs on Carlos's Twitter conversation the other day about this, and I think I can see both. I mean, I can see why people want Barrero in there, but like Carlos said, it's like, I mean, think about it this way: if you and 3 of your friends saved all summer to go to Kings Island at the end of the year, and you really wanted to go, and 2 of your buddies, you and another buddy, had plenty of money to go. You had season passes or something, but you didn't. You had another friend who it took a long time to save up that money to go. And at the very last minute, after he has the money and he's ready to go in with you, you take him out and you put in another guy because he's great at riding roller coasters or whatever. And you put him there, I guarantee you're not going to have as much fun as if, because you're going to say, look, that's our friend. We wanted to go with him. He saved up, he worked hard, he proved that he wanted to do it. He's committed to this. He can't just do that to us. That might not be a good comparison, but that's one of the first things that popped in my mind is like, imagine like if you're on a team or in a family and somebody just plucks one of them out and replaces them with somebody that hasn't gone through the sticks with you. I think, again, going back to the clubhouse thing, and I know that can get overstated sometimes, but it certainly is a thing about disrupting that, the good vibes only thing. And, you know, especially with Farmer. Farmer's another guy that is like the lifeblood of this team, like a heartbeat to this team. And at the end of the day, is your problem at shortstop? Are you having is it that much of a glaring problem there that you need to replace Kyle Farmer? I don't think so at all. If anything, if the last month and a half has showed you anything, is that he can play there, number one. He can play shortstop. And 2, I mean, how are you going to take him out now when he's hitting, you know? So,
yeah, I mean,
I'm against it.
If you plug him in, you're saying he's going to hit like he hit in AAA, because that's the only way he's going to be more valuable than Kyle Farmer right now. And he wasn't facing big league pitchers in AAA.
I will say this: if this team was 20 games out of first place, Jose Barrero would be playing shortstop.
For sure.
Yeah. I think 2 things that come to mind for me is I think I gotta remember how bad the Reds shortstop situation was when Kyle Farmer took over. I mean, it was bad. You know, Suarez was just not cutting it defensively. It was a glaring hole. I've said it all year. I really believe that had was a massive contributor to Castillo's early season struggles with some of the defense behind him. Farmer is 7th in baseball in outs above average among shortstops, and there's like 36 qualifiers. I mean, he has been incredibly defensively. It's not just, he's done a nice job. No, he's been really, really good defensively. And, you know, with the bat, I think he's at a 93 weighted runs created plus. So he's holding his own. So first you have that. And then the other thing I think is we have to remember it's a real crapshoot when someone comes up to the big leagues with what their performance is going to be. Sometimes you get Jonathan India who comes up and everything goes well. But a lot of other times you have these other guys that it's taken them a while. They struggle. And we only have, 35 games left. This is a sprint to the finish. So I just wouldn't be in a rush to replace Farmer. Now, look, if Farmer has 2 weeks where he just is not hitting at all, then maybe you need to start working Jose in more. But I would just right now, I don't think it's this. I don't think it's going to really make or break or add or subtract really any wins at this point.
Like I've never been, super big on the clubhouse field because, it's a business. It's not like the minor leagues or college ball to where we're all best buddies. We're all going to go out afterwards and hang out. It's work. You get there, you go to work, you have small conversations. You don't hang out with these guys after the games. You got families to go home to. It's a different vibe. So to get a good clubhouse fit is pretty important. And again, I don't share many things that Joey shares with me, but like early April, he was like, dude, this clubhouse, it's amazing. Like everybody's pulling for each other. Like we know we're good. We're going to be good. I know it. Like, he's like, I've never been in a clubhouse like this. It's like everybody. You know, like in the past, you've had great players, but there's so many different personalities that have to come together. And it's like, I mean, you saw the Tampa Bay Rays last year. I mean, who were they? Name me 5 starters from Tampa Bay right now. But those guys had so much fun whenever you're watching the World Series. I mean, it's unbelievable, and it's true. And that to me is why the biggest reason why you can't take Kyle Farmer out, because he's not hurting you, and he's been there all year. And I promise you, if there was a vote, his teammates would say he's our shortstop right now.
I think, I absolutely agree. And I think part of the problem with the folks that kind of just poo-poo the clubhouse thing is it's something that the average fan doesn't know about, because the media isn't, especially now, the media is not in the clubhouse. The fans don't know what happens in the clubhouse. And to me, that's where, that's a very big portion of the game is you're with these guys for Carlos, probably 200 days out of the year at least.
Yeah, at least.
In close quarters like that. And just think about it as your family. Like if you're at home with your family and say your daughter is just being disruptive all the time, that's going to hurt your family dynamic. And it's not unlike that in the baseball clubhouse. And because you can't quantify it, it's a mystery to some folks, and that's not their fault. It's just something that's unknown to a lot of people, and to continue that point is, I think I've said it on Twitter before, that in the clubhouse behind closed doors is 90% of what a manager does. That's part of it. Like 90% of his job takes place not on the field or in the dugout, but in the clubhouse.
And a lot of the argument too is like, these athletes get paid so much money, like they shouldn't worry about their feelings. Guess what? Nobody cares how much Joey's making right now. Nobody cares how much Jose Barrero in that clubhouse is making right now. They don't. It's not a factor for them.
All right. So next question, and Jamie, you may want to not answer this and totally respect that, but we try to answer everyone's questions on here as much as possible. This one came from Bryce. This might be a little tougher to answer, but I think it's a good question. Name the best 8 players in the lineup right now. I'll start this one out. I'll take this one. I would probably, so we're taking Winker out because he said active. So I'd probably say Votto, number 1, which 5 years ago, that would be obvious. 6 months ago, I would have been like, I really have him number 1, but I think he's probably number 1 right now. Then Castellanos, India, Stevenson, Naquin. Am I missing someone?
Are you asking us questions, or are you giving your answer? It sounds like you're asking questions.
Naquin, Moustakas, Barnhart, Farmer. I don't know. Any critiques with that, Carlos?
I don't know.
It's hard to answer in a podcast.
Because there's so many things that go into it. But
yeah,
they're probably going to be in the lineup anyway. The best 8 are going to probably be in the
Yeah.
I will say, if I can comment on that just a little bit, I think one of the most underrated stories of this team this year is the production you're getting from your catchers. And I don't think that's talked about enough. I think both defensively and offensively, the duo that is behind the plate for the Reds has been phenomenal. And I think they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, that's been a fun back and forth with me and Nick this year. We've kind of like chosen a player each guy, and not like, we love both guys, but we just like when one hits a homer, the other one hits a homer, we text each other right away. Hell, I got a free koozie out of it.
Jamie, we had a bet which one would hit a home run first from a certain date. And my guy, David Bell, benched my guy 3 straight games in a row. And the third one, Carlos homered. Next day, my guy homered. So Carlos got a koozie out of it. So congrats.
Awesome.
Yeah. But no, a good point on that is neither one of those guys have had to have the full catching load. And this is a coming off a short season. So you hope maybe the Reds catching tandem is a lot fresher than other teams who, man, catching has got to be hard. And especially after the short season last year, that would be a huge advantage for the Reds when they start getting into September. So that's, I think, a really good point.
That's one of the biggest myths to me is how catchers can make it through the whole entire year. I mean, you see these guys coming in spring training, they're like yoked and in the best shape. And then by like now, mid-August, they're like, they've lost 15 pounds. They're like, like they can't eat enough. They can't keep the weight on. It's like, Jesus, all the work that those guys put in, they're crazy. Yeah. Like, I mean, I remember Joey had a quote saying how crazy catchers were, but like, yeah, that's lots of respect goes out to those two. And man, I hope they sign Tucker back next year.
Very good. All right. So moving right along here. Big news of the day was Heyman reporting, I think probably what most of us thought, that Castellanos is likely to opt out at the end of the year. We've talked about this a little bit earlier in the year, but I know we had some questions about it, Carlos, and I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal that the Reds didn't trade him at the deadline. Like, this is a year you are in, Reds haven't been in very many years. You want to keep all your guys. So I don't really look at it as a bad situation. If he does choose to opt out and the Reds aren't able to match it, they can get a qualifying offer, compensation pick for him. They could reallocate that money, and they can thank hopefully Castellanos for helping lead them to 2 straight postseasons. Like, I see it as a good situation for everyone involved. Carlos, do you see anything really glaring about the situation?
No, I mean, I just think it's the timing of this, announcement was kind of weird. Like, it must have been a really slow day in baseball because, I mean, we've known this since March, right? Like, it's probably going to be the action. And whenever he had his April and May, we're like, okay, it's definitely going to be the option.
Yeah.
Or not taking the option. So, like, I mean, this is just
might be some speculation there.
Yeah, like whatever.
It's a good deal for the Reds, regardless of what happens. I think I'm surprised you don't see more contracts like Castellanos's, where you have the first 2 years you have the ability to opt out, and a lot of people get scared about that, especially when Castellanos becomes the favorite player and has the season that he's had. But there are benefits to, or I shouldn't say benefits, but there's safety nets in place with contracts like that. Like you said, if he does opt out, the Reds will get something rather than getting nothing.
Yeah. And I mean, the opt-outs were probably a big reason why he chose to come to Cincinnati. Maybe so they got him here, and guess what? It has worked out really, really well for the Reds. So I don't know. I don't really focus on the negative aspect of that. I'm just really glad the Reds have had a great player, for so long. All right. Couple other questions. Then I got one here at the end specifically for Jamie. I want to make sure I save that for the end because it's a really, really good question. Do you like the wild card format? That was a hot topic going around. I'll start. I love the wild card format. I think the wild card format was, I'm trying to remember the year. It started in 11, I think. And in 2010, the year before, the Yankees and Rays were fighting for the American League East, and neither team fought. They just 2 weeks left in the season. There was no advantage other than playing one extra game at home in the division series. What's the big advantage to that? And both teams rested guys. They didn't fight till the end. So I love that the 1 game wild card has eliminated that and made the 162 really, really matter. And I think it's a really great way just to kick off the playoffs with that energy of that 1 game single elimination. And then this year it helps the Reds. The Reds, if they're playing the Dodgers, their chances of winning 1 game against the Dodgers versus winning 2 out of 3, one's higher. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts, Jamie? What's your thoughts on the single elimination wild card game?
All right, this is where I'm going to stray a little bit. I don't like it. I think a season that is the baseball season is long and grueling, and it's built on series, and to just have your season like go away after one game to me just doesn't make sense. And I know I get it, and I respect all of the the reasons why people like it. I think if you're gonna have a season built on series, a 3-game, 2-game, 4-game series with every team when they come in, then you should. I think it's only right to have a playoff as a series. Now, if that's 7 games, 5 games, 3 games, that's fine. But I think it has to be more than 1 game.
Carlos, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. As a Reds fans, I really love it this year. But I mean, it sucks for being that, the first wild card spot. Like like you said, your whole season you play for it, you get that wild card spot, and then now you're stuck playing a 1-game playoff, like a winner go home. So it sucks for that seed, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to be on the other side because I haven't been on the other side yet. Just being a Reds fan, like I love it right now because it's been a while since they won the division. So it's tough to just. The Dodgers could lose to the freaking who's the worst team right now, the Pirates.
Yeah,
tomorrow with Max Scherzer going, like it could totally happen, and that's what sucks about it.
Yeah. I only know the other side, the 2013, but I tell you what, if you're a fan of a team that wins the wild card game, I imagine that is just an incredible feeling. I think back to the last, normal baseball season, the Nationals, remember they won the World Series, but remember they were down like 2 runs in like the 8th inning. Trent Grisham, who got traded because of it, made that big error. And their season was over almost, and it flipped and they ended up winning the World Series. So it's an emotional game. And that's what I love about it. I think it's just an awesome way to kick off the playoffs. I totally see Jamie's perspective for sure. All right. One more question, and then we'll get to Jamie's specific one. I'll let Carlos start this one. Never too early to talk about this. And again, Reds haven't clinched anything. We're not jinxing anything. We're just talking. We're just guys chatting here. So don't be like you jinxed anything. We're just chatting. Carlos, who'd you start in the wild card game?
Luis Castillo.
Jamie, who would you start in the wild game if you want to answer?
I'd probably start Castillo. I'd give some serious thought to Sonny, but Castillo would be my guy.
I'd start Tyler Mahle. Dominant on the road. It's going to be on the road. I think the thing too is the Reds are, unless they're nuts, they're going to use more than one starting pitcher in the wild card game, especially with the Reds bullpen, where it is. That going back to 2019, the Nats used Scherzer and Strasburg in that game. So I would imagine the Reds would use at least 2. I'd have 3 available. And if you go 3-3-3, hey, look, you have to win that game or your season's over. And if whoever the 4th guy is starting game 1, if you're able to get to the NLDS, it's still a really good pitcher. If it's Sonny Gray, if it's Tyler Mahle, you're still starting a really good pitcher. So I'd have 3 available. I think I'd go Mahle, Miley, and Castillo, and not try to use the bullpen at all. Maybe the Reds will have 1 or 2 guys that we feel, maybe Lorenzen and Givens or Sessa, someone gets in the mix, and we just feel so good about them for like the 1 inning that they could be kind of thrown in that mix.
Those guys would have to come in mid-inning if you're going to do that. If you're going to have 3 starters going, then Sessa or Lorenzen is going to have to come in like in the bottom of the 3rd or whatever, and then in the bottom of the 5th to get out of the inning, to give that starter. If starters shouldn't come in during the middle of an inning.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I meant more maybe not using like the 3rd starting pitcher, maybe if you start having 2 or 3 guys really separate themselves. That's more what I meant. But yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to. You'd want to give them as much time to make it as normal as you can. But yeah. Do you guys have
your question? I want to ask Jamie, because I got a little tip that you used to be on the grounds crew, and that's like everybody's like bro thing when they go to the game. Like, damn, I'd love to be on the grounds crew. Like, that'd be cool. Like, every dad wants the best yard in the neighborhood. We all want to like be out there working on shit. Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, that's how I started my tenure with the Reds, and this was at Riverfront Stadium. At the time, it was called Synergy Field in 1997. And I had a couple buddies that got on the crew the year before, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'd love to do that. If you guys need any help." And so, May of '97, my buddy called and said, "Yeah, we do need some help," and I've been there ever since. And you have to remember, Riverfront was turf, so I didn't know grass or anything. It was I worked. I was the mound guy, so I was the guy that helped build the mound and maintain the mound. And those were some great memories, man. Some really good memories working.
That's awesome. That's cool. And now you're doing like a lot of media relations, or mainly media relations, and I know a lot of the things I send you questions often on Twitter about, walk-up songs and like that. Do you have a favorite team as a group of walk-up songs? Because I feel, the last couple of years they've struggled as a team. Like, I'm like, what are we listening to here, guys?
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm getting older, probably because I'm getting older, but I'm like, oh.
Well, that makes me feel better that you feel that way, because last several years, and I make no mistake about it, like, people love, and you guys mentioned it before, you guys love getting that list, and I love doing it and compiling it. But man, holy cow, there's some really bad music that and there's still bad music going on now that when someone, I think I love Gino to death, but man, that song, when he comes up, I don't know how that would pump him up. And I know it's probably, sentimental to his family, or it's probably his daughter's favorite song or whatever, but man. And, I've never heard of Da Baby until the last few years. And it felt like every third guy on the team was listening to a Da Baby song. I know this isn't going to be popular, but I'm not a Drake fan at all. And Drake is hugely popular in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
So I guess yes, you're right, Carlos. There's some bad music going on out there, but that makes the guys that do have the good ones, it makes their songs even better, I think. And I love Tucker because he tends to go with a classic rock song that, nobody would probably think of, but I dig that. And Michael Gibbons just told me the other day he wanted to go with Ready or Not by the Fugees, which I think is an excellent choice.
Oh, I love it.
One that Aaron Boone used to come out to back in the day for the Reds.
Nice.
But as far as a team goes, I know in the infant stages of walk-up music, probably in the late 90s, the 99 Reds, that was fun because they had some cool stuff. You could hear everything from hip hop to equal parts hip hop, equal parts.
God, that was such a great time for music, the late 90s.
Yeah.
Hip hop, we had alternatives, it was all over the place. All the time, me and Joey, new music comes out and we'll send to each other, it'll be the song and it'll say start at 0.36 seconds. This will be the walk-up. We've done that. I swear, since he's been in the league, we've sent each other thousands of them. And he's never once taken mine and my request. And he's changed it 5 times. So I'm whatever. But we still send it back and forth. And I swear, I mentioned it on Twitter, that his resurgence came whenever Kanye started putting out that new music, because you're not going to find a bigger Kanye fan than Joey. And whenever he started leaking that stream, Joey came back. Joey's getting hype. He's not sleeping at night because he's listening to new Kanye music.
I feel like there's not as many guys that like have like the same song for like I remember like Scott Rowland had Coldplay for like his entire tenure, and
His
Ludwig
daughter's favorite song
had Brass Monkey. I feel like everyone changes it up now. There was something just even if you didn't like the song, there was something cool about like that was that guy's song. Like Scott Rowland. Every time he came up, it was that dun dun dun, you know, and it was I don't know. I kind of like
Black was really cool. Like at first I was like, yeah,
Black.
this is kind of but it's like, you know, everybody in the crowd would be like,
yeah,
clapping. So that was the cool part of it.
Painted Black for Joey was like Stone Cold's like glass shattering for me. Like when I heard that, like that opening note and people clapping along is like, not that Joey's at bats aren't already appointment viewing, but I was just already focused. Like, oh, I'm pumped up. I can't wait to see him. Like,
the text has been sent. First playoff home game, Painted Black. He's like,
hey, look, Charlie Watts just passed away, and Joey's like really in tune with what's going on in the world, and I would not doubt that when they come back home that he goes Painted Black.
Oof.
I'll probably make Jamie puke, but I do like Antone's blah blah blah. I'm not gonna lie, I have jammed out to that. Yeah. Ever since I never heard the song and I heard it, and I've jammed out to it all summer.
I love
What's your walkout song?
Okay, good. Wow, I can't believe we agreed on that. I thought you would hate that. So
no, that's one of the better ones.
Yeah, it's kind of just
Nick. What's your walk-up song?
My walk-up song? Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
What do you got, Carlos?
I think I would probably go Bright Lights by Gary Clark Jr.
Oh, yes. Good choice.
Yeah.
He's coming to Cincinnati soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
During the season?
I want to say maybe next month. I could be way wrong on that.
Now I'm gonna have to do some research before I go to bed tonight.
Be at the new venue, I think.
Me and the wife have been going to see him at Red Rocks the last several years before COVID. We'd go like every September for like 3 years in a row. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'll embarrass myself. I'll probably go Jet. Put your money where your mouth is. I need something that really like bangs, but I don't think I'll get a major league at bat. So I don't think we'll have to. I don't think Jamie will have to add that to the playlist.
Jamie, you got one?
Mine change from time to time. Like I don't have a current one that I like. Sometimes I'll think about like if I'm in the car or whatever, like, man, I wish somebody would come out to this or whatever. But
yeah. It's funny how like you listen to songs different, like this little 20-second clip would be awesome, you know?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, we'll close the show on this question. This comes from our pal Steven Offenbaker, has a really good podcast. Good question for Jamie. Jamie, how do you feel about the collection of independent websites, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, etc., that have developed to discuss the Reds? Do they pose any challenges for you in your job? Do you see them growing in importance?
Yes, I'm a big proponent of what has gone on over the last 10 years online. I'm a big supporter of the blogs that and I read them and I keep up. I don't read all of them, and quite frankly, it's hard for me to do that away from the ballpark because once I'm away from baseball, I want to be away from it. But I do keep an eye on it. I keep my finger on the pulse of Twitter, and I see what's being said and all that stuff. And challenges, no, but I will say that it's, I think it's important not to confuse a lot of the blogs with what hard news is and what the jobs that the beat writers do. That might not be a popular thing to say, especially here, but I think for the most part, the blogs are probably, and you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, are 90% commentary, maybe even more than that, rather than what journalism, a lot of what journalism is breaking stories, fostering sources, creating exclusive content. And that's no fault of the blogs. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's lot of the people that are running blogs don't have the access. They don't have the relationships. They don't have the sources. And what they do is great. And to me, like when I see a Reds blog, that means one, somebody cares enough to do this. Two, they care enough that they want other people to read it about it and to listen to it. And if they have an audience, that's great too, because that means there's more Reds fans. And I think what gets lost on social media, especially, is that we're all rooting for the same team. I mean, it's kind of weird to see that, because when you see, you know, I got to be careful how I say this, and you see maybe a local radio personality go absolutely crazy over the fact that a certain player is not on the team currently, and he's playing in Louisville or he's on the IL. It kind of goes sideways sometimes, like, and I have to remind myself before I get annoyed. Back in the day, as you guys probably know, I used to get really upset, but I've kind of mellowed through the years, and everybody has their right to their opinion. I mean, who am I to think that whatever I think is the best thing? And but I think it's very important to have that online presence, and the more the merrier for me. And I don't think it's any challenge at all.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. Yeah, we are not journalists here on the show. I hope no one ever is confused of that. I want to make it very clear. We're just dudes who want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds and have a good time, and hopefully
I think it's super cool for me, somebody who's so far away from Cincinnati, and I can just hop on the internet and I feel like like I'm a part of the Reds community, because I go from C. Trent's to Mo Egger stuff to to Nick's stuff that him and his group puts up, to like there's so many different like podcasts, blogs, everything, and it's like nobody's right. We're all just guessing here. Like if we're talking about other than the journalists that are actually reporting and breaking news stories, like all of us else are just sharing information. We're gonna disagree. Like the other whenever I was talking with Doug the other day about Barrero, like we just disagreed and we're going back and forth, and some people were like, hey, you guys were rooting for the same team. Like, well, we know that, but we're just trying to educate each other, and we're just like we'll be back on the same team once this conversation's over. Neither of us is going to be right, I promise, and we both know that. But we're just both driving home our points, and that's what makes it fun for me. Like that's why I've I feel super lucky that I've been able to be within this like Reds community, and being able to have a conversation with someone like you, Jamie, who's really tight in there. Like it's been pretty fun. I feel really lucky.
Yeah, and that's another thing that, like, when the blog was popular and we were going to town on Better Off Red back in the day, that's the first thing that I felt was the community, and how it can be mean on Twitter. It can be terrible, as you guys know, but the Reds group, to me, like the blogs and the folks on Twitter, the regulars, like I felt like they just kind of opened they made me feel part of their group and that community. And that's a pretty brave thing to do for somebody that works in the organization, that can be considered the man type thing, but they've been great. And like, I'm always thankful and grateful for that, for the Reds online community, for doing that for me. And plus it, like, I don't know, it's just, it goes to show that, like, we're all, again, we're all pulling for the same team, and we just want to have fun and be entertained. That's the way I look at it. I will say,
when every game, everything would be fine. Twitter would be such a happier place.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not, I mean, even now, like, this team's going to lose 2 in a row from here on out. There could be more times that the team loses to. So let's just kind of be cool about it and, like, enjoy the good stuff by all means. But I also think, like, I think it's important. You guys already, Carlos, you just touched on it. And I think it's important for me to encourage your listeners that if they want good Reds coverage, I think the first thing that they need to do is to seek it out. And I think they need to begin first and foremost with the people that are embedded with the team. And that to me is C. Trent, Mark Sheldon, Bobby Nightingale, Charlie Goldsmith. And then you branch off from there. I think it then branches off from there. I think casual Reds fans can get confused by, people that have the loudest voice. And because you have the loudest voice doesn't, as we see on political news shows these days, just because you have the loudest voice doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. And there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that go into a decision, a player decision, so many different things that unfortunately not everybody has access to that information, nor should they. And the Reds are put in a bad spot when somebody like Nick Senzel, the Nick Senzel story from last week happens. And, the Reds can't really comment more than just the transaction, just the simple transaction. And that's what's kind of at a disadvantage for official Reds people on Twitter and social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's gotta be brutal when you know something you can't.
Thing. I mean, and it's just not that. And I'm not even implying that there's a story behind that. I'm just saying that to me, it's like, how do you not defer? And this might sound really uppity, but how do you not defer to the experts? Like, I have a pretty good idea that Nick Krall is going to get some votes for Executive of the Year this year. Who am I to suggest that his player moves are disingenuous or, that he's not doing his job? Because he has a lot more information. He's way smarter than I am when it comes to that stuff. So I think I love, like you said, I love the presence of our community, our Reds online community. I think, as a rule, I think, and you see this on radio and you've already seen it on radio and TV, but, the internet has a lot of people who really like their own opinions and have a very high level of self-importance. And this, sadly, I felt that way when, the blog was going well, and I felt like, I felt like, I got a good handle. I've been watching baseball for 20 years. I've been with this team for 20 years. And, as you grow up a little bit and mature, it's like, maybe I should practice a little more humility and, think things through a little bit. And I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent, but I think it's
still working on that.
I think it's important to just be respectful of the people that get paid a lot of money who have to make those decisions and have to make the really unpopular choices and have to be the fall guy too. It's not like they're doing everything they can to win, whether you believe that or not. And I know some fans out there won't believe that, but I can assure you, I can promise you that is the case. And if for no other reason, there's so many other people that you don't know about it's important for the team to do well, not just for, the people on the field and the Nick Kralls and the Sam Grossmans, but for the guy that's showing somebody to their seat every night. They need to, when the team's doing well, they're going to do well. And it's a business, it's a company, but there's a lot of people who depend on the success of this team, and quite frankly, who love this team. And me being one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love your perspective on that, Jamie. I think that's really good, really important. It's so easy to, not think about all that goes into each and everything. But I certainly don't agree with everything Nick Krall's done this year. I don't agree with everything David Bell's done this year, but I think they've both done a good job. I absolutely. This team is 10 games over 500, and I'll say it. I don't think there's a single Reds fan that if you had said before the season, August 26th, Would you take the Reds being 10 games over 500? I don't think anyone would have been like, oh, no, I think they can do better than that. I think everyone would have, and we got to try to have that perspective a little bit. It goes, I think it goes a long way.
And while I'm waxing poetic about, while I'm being a complete bootlicker for our team, not only do I think Nick Krall has done an amazing job this year with what he's been given and for what he's been asked to do, but again, this might not be a popular opinion because, the manager's never right? But I think David has done an amazing job. And I think he did an amazing job last year. And like I said, 90% of that job is behind closed doors that a lot of people don't know about. And I think the things that he does and just the patience that he's, people get so upset because, and I'm one of them. It's like if another, reliever A has given up, the lead again, it's like, how much longer are we going to keep running this guy out? But David has shown an unbelievable amount of patience with people in which it's paid off. And I think exhibit A for that is not a specific player per se, but last year in the 60-game season when they didn't turn it on until 2 weeks to go, David, every single night in those Zoom calls after a loss, said, we're gonna turn it around. I believe in this team. I don't think it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And guess what? It happened. And I don't think he gets a lot of credit for just the patience, especially during a 162-game season. Like, you have to be patient and you can't be impulsive. I mean, in some cases it does warrant it, and you have to make transactions, but he's done a phenomenal job.
He's navigated a lot of challenges this year. Yeah, no, I agree. And we talked weeks ago. We think David's extension should be picked up. We're big David Bell supporters. All right, well, it's getting late here. Let's wrap this up. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. Loved having you. Really appreciate your generous time and I'm hearing your perspective. We'll be back next week, as always. If you guys are listening or watching live right now, make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star review, as Tim always says, way better than I'm doing right now. Do that. And then lastly, Marlins, Cardinals, Tigers, Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates. That's who the Reds got coming up. It's a good team, believe it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you.